Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today we have author James Reid, known as JD Reid, with The Secret of the Jewels. Diamond Stain. If you guys love dark sorcerers and the crime world, this is the author to check out. Hi, thank you for joining us from Washington State, is it today, by Skype?
Yeah, I'm outside of Tacoma.
How's the weather out there?
It's cloudy and drizzling right now. So it's a standard autumn, yeah.
Oh, standard? Awesome.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in New Hampshire today. So how did you come up with this series?
So when I first started getting into writing, I wrote a short story called The Assassin's Remorse. And I wanted to set it in like a foggy, crime-ridden London in the Victorian times, but with magic. And so I created this sort of system of magic for it called the jewel machines. And it was just supposed to be a one-off. And then people really liked the magic system. And they were like, you need to do more with this. You can do a lot with it. And so I started thinking about a world and what this world would be. And so I sort of started writing more short stories in it. And this one comes out of a short story called Duel, which gives the backstory for Oban. And so it's about two guys who get in a duel over a woman, and then an earthquake strikes and they get dropped into a mine and they have to help each other get out. And over the course of it, they talk about their relationship with this woman. And they kind of realize she's like two-timing them both. And one of them is unable to let go of her, and at the end of it kills the other one. And that would be Oban. And this is now 2 years later. He's in another part of the world. He's at his rock bottom. He's lost all hope. He doesn't see himself as having any redemption. And I wanted to tell his story. After I wrote that short story, I wanted to tell what happened to Oban after that. It really stuck in my mind. And so I was glad that I figured out like where I could tell his story and, where I could set it and sort of craft this other story around it,
That was really good. I mean, the way it all unfolded, the fact that he started out as a bandit mercenary who went on to provide security for the very people that he attacked.
Yeah.
And then the way the whole story weaved together, the good guys, the bad guys, who was where, and then the magic system surrounding it, is really well done. How long have you been writing?
I've been writing seriously since 2013, but I've been writing since junior high back in the 90s.
Wow. How many books do you have published?
10 books published and short stories.
Wow. How long does it take you to write a book?
It took me about a month to write Diamond Stained.
Only a month?
Yeah, I'm a fast writer.
Yeah, it was a little over 300. That's really good.
It's like 90,000 words, as I recall.
That's all?
Yeah. Well,
I'm pretty sure I couldn't do that in a month or two. I don't think I'd do that in a year.
I don't. Like I said, I write every day and I write fast. So I've been told that. So.
Yeah, that is just incredible. And what about the whole system with the jewel machines? How did you create that? Was there something that influenced you?
Well, I was kind of influenced off sort of Christian morality with sort of how so like when I first conceived it with the Victorian one, I wanted to give it sort of the Christian morality with sort of their magic system. And so each of the jewels represented a different virtue for their god, and it kind of informed what the jewels did. So like diamonds are truth, and so they do light and stuff reveal, around revelation, and you know, uh, let's see, I'm thinking now like I did sapphires. They do water stuff, but that's temperance to them. So temperance is not drinking, really, is kind of when you think about it. So it made sense with water. But then when I expanded to the outer world, I was thinking, how would other cultures see these jewels? And so they're like kind of like a baseline, and different cultures see them different ways. And you see that with Oben and Avina, how they see the jewels and what they represent as different things. But there also kind of is similar roots to how they came together. And so it was fun, like figuring it out, sort of like thinking about how ideas can morph between cultures and spread over eons.
Morph? More like morbid. Jeez, where'd you get your dark side?
Well, you want to have bad guys that do bad things, So I thought about what could you do these jewels that are dark and messed up? What could you? And so that's kind of where our necromancer comes from, where he uses the jewels in a very destructive way, and a way that's different from what they know it. And like I said, he can use them to raise the dead or to modify people. And there's some other things he can do that you'll see later on in the series.
Oh, wow. Doesn't it scare you? Do you have nightmares when you write these?
I don't have nightmares. I have some of the stuff I've written, definitely like it. You have to take a break and kind of gather yourself, especially because I write very deep, limited view POVs. So when I do something really, when a character has something really bad happen to them, it's I have to kind of be there with them. And so when I come out of that, it can be, it could take me a couple of minutes to recover, or longer. Yeah, I felt guilty for a month after I killed one character.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I felt guilty for it.
That's good, because we were really sad some of these people died. Not all of them. Yeah. Some of them we cheered. But how about the city of Cash, the main setting? How did you create that?
So like I said, with the Assassin's Remorse, I wanted that foggy London. And so basically Cash is like a foggy London in the middle of the Industrial Revolution, when it's heavily polluted, by the industrial waste, where they didn't have any sort of safety regulations, when there's a lot of poor people crammed in slums that, because society's being upheaved, and so there's a lot of like pressure on the city. There's a drought, so all the farmers, our crops are failing, and so they don't have anything. So they're just there's a lot of unrest. There's a lot of like haves and have-nots, and that always creates instability in a place. Yeah. So yeah, I just thought it was a good setting for a story.
No, it was really good. It was really. Do you have it like mapped out literally? Because
yes, I do.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Just the way that you explain it without going into a lot of detail, but you just have this unique way of giving us really vivid, like, details. Like, I can see myself there. I can imagine what it looks like in person, like in a TV show or something far away.
Yeah, I have a detailed map, and I have notes about all the various neighborhoods. A lot of it doesn't make it into the series, but it's like there. So yeah, Cash is a great setting, I think.
Yeah, and just them living on the outskirts, that hill, where they buried his friend. I can like vividly see that. It's really creepy, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is creepy, yeah.
And it kept me up really late, so. And the title Diamond Stained means?
So it's a metaphor that the character Avina uses to talk about Oben finding his redemption. She describes his soul as a diamond, and it's stained by his past guilt and stuff. But, you can always polish something up and make it shine bright again. So even if a diamond is stained, you can clean it up and let it be brilliant once more. And it's to convince him at a point in the story not to do something he'll regret. And so I thought it was a really good title for the whole theme of what the series is, which is you were bad yesterday, but today you can be a better person.
That was a really good thing. I like the way that you played out forgiveness in this. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
oh, we're going to forgive you. It was a journey, and it built upon between two of the characters. For the absent-minded doctor, professor, alchemist guy, it didn't seem to matter as long as just things worked and people were in the right place.
Yeah, he's very, goal-oriented.
Yeah. Is it going to be scary too later?
No comment. No comment.
Fine. All right. And what about all the lies and false information? How do you accumulate that and write it and keep track of it when it's not your own personal lie? Because it's like a continuing theme that goes through, but it's consistent and nothing's flawed in the way you do it. So I'm really interested in like your methodology, how you put together and craft this.
I outline in spurts. So I'll write a couple chapters and then I'll outline the next chapters when it's kind of fresh in my mind what I just wrote. So I can kind of keep the characters, because like I have the outline for the book, but it's very bare bones. And it's just really, these are the events that happens. But the character stuff I tend to find in the writing. And so it helps me to like write something heavy character and then think about what the characters will do next and how it would flow from what happened and what lies. And that way I hope it, makes a consistent arc and, it doesn't have any, it all fits together. Yeah. So.
But I thought it was just really creative the way that the lies and the false information at times, it was hard to tell what was really going to be the lie and what was really false. And, there's times where you're questioning the characters, like, are they really good, halfway good, or wow, something's not right? But that's like genius to just like leave us on like that.
Yeah, it's that thing like you don't know if it's going to work or not, right? Like because I know the truth, and so I have to just hope that I'm doing a good job, kind of obscuring and giving the right amount of information and keeping the characters ambiguous that I want to be ambiguous. And it's you kind of just have to go on your instincts and hope that it works out, and then trust like your beta readers and see what they say worked or not.
So do you write full-time now?
Yeah.
Full-time writer. What did you do? What did you do before? Where did you go to school to influence the way you write today?
Okay, well, I went to school. I went to community college for computer-aided drafting, which has nothing to do with being a writer. And I dropped out in my second year because I was bored. And then I delivered pizzas through my 20s and played video games. And it was, and then you just sort of realize like a decade of your life went by and you didn't do anything. And it's a very weird realization. And by then I had become a paratransit driver. So I was kind of a little more respectable, but it was still a fairly low paying job. And I always wanted to be a writer. And it was kind of like, why wasn't I being a writer? And what am I doing with my life? And so let's just go for it. And I went for it. And that was 2013. I really started to try to take it seriously. Now, 7 years later, I'm, paying my bills with writing. So it's great.
That is great. I could see how those two professions might play into the way you develop some of these characters. So what's the most important component to you for great storytelling?
Characters. Like characters is all what that matters. Like plot and events and awesome scenes. They don't matter in the long run if the people involved are just nothing. Like if you have good characters, then you can write anything. You can put them in any story. You can, So I think characters, like you got to really get your characters down, and then readers will love them and let you do whatever you want for like the story and stuff, as long as the story it makes sense or whatever.
But how do you develop the character? What are the components that go into
Okay.
developing someone who appears, human?
So I think about a character. What type of character will let me tell the story I want and be engrossing, and have the backstory and be able to have the character arc in mind and still be a great character. So you want to have someone that has flaws. You want to have someone that struggles, but we also, I think, for a story about like something more kind of like fantasy, I think your good guys should have good goals. They should be trying to do good things, even in a dark world with gruesome stuff happening. So yeah, so that's kind of how I build the characters from the beginning, and then I kind of like unleash them on the story and see how they develop over the course of writing it.
Wow. That is really good. They were all interesting characters. None of them, they were just all like completely different personalities, even the bad guys. And they made sense as bad guys.
Yeah, I like to have my bad guys have at least motivations that make sense to them. They're the good guys in their own eyes. Like the crime boss, he thinks he's the good guy in his story, and he has his rationalizations for why he does it. You'll get in later books when he justifies his actions, and and you could agree with it or not, but he believes it. He thinks he's doing what's best. And the white lady, I think, is she has her motivations that are kind of more ethereal, but she still has them, and she believes she's doing what's right. And
Yeah, I'm not sure if she's like, I don't know. She seems like she has this evil streak in her, but she comes off so nice.
yeah, I like her. She's I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, she's a complicated character.
I think she's
Yeah,
one of those
just a
girls who
little
are
bit.
just like,
Yeah,
they're just like really nice. And they have that calm, I imagine her as like that calm sing-song voice, but nasty as heck underneath. Like she'll rip your eyes out without a problem.
I think that's a fair assessment of how she comes off. Yeah.
So where else have you lived in the country, and have any places that you've traveled to influence the world here?
I've lived in just primarily California and New Mexico. Um, yeah, I would say definitely. I'm not sure necessarily how much, like, New Mexico has played, like, I put characters kind of in a desert setting in a short story, and like I pictured New Mexico's like scrub brushes and stuff when I was writing it. And I've been to Japan a couple times, and there's definitely some like Asian stuff in this. And I read a lot and I watch a lot of documentaries, and so I do try to incorporate aspects of the real world into the characters, trying to make my world, more diverse and like a real world, and not just like a little city. It feels like people come all over the world to Cache. I hope that's what I'm trying to give the impression of, that it's not just like one type of people there. And I don't know, living around different places might helps out. You meet different people and different how ways of doing things.
What about, is it Avina?
Avina, yeah.
Yeah. So Avina, I really liked her. I like that she was a young woman coming into her own. And I like the way she convinces the bandit to teach her how to fight later.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
just so
She's
resourceful.
yes, I like her. She's it's definitely, her story is definitely becoming a very taking on like a leadership role, not necessarily fighting, but fighting the political stuff, because you'll see it in the book. She likes to give like money to the poor kids and stuff like that. So she's very much concerned about the suffering of the people of Cache, and that will very much inform where she's going in the story in the later books.
True. And I like the way that you have you had her confront different social issues. You were really good with the different social issues that came up, and there, while she may not have agreed with it or understood it at the beginning, when things went wrong, as they appear to do in your world,
Yeah.
She was just able to grasp it and realize that, and that love can be different for everybody, and she had empathy.
Yeah. 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 She's a very empathic character. Yeah. She wants to help people. That's kind of her thing. And then it goes back to her backstory about why she wants to help people. Yeah, I like her. She's a good heroine. She's got a story, I think, in the later books.
Oh, really? How many books are in the
Oh, yeah.
series?
There's 5.
5? Okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to it. No, she was a great character. Oben was great. The crazy doctor was good. And her friend in the hospital I really like too.
Yeah, she's got her own story arc in the later books.
Oh, really?
We'll go to some. Yeah.
There seems like there would be more behind her, or maybe she'd, find a way out of that job and do something else. I don't know.
Yeah. We'll go into like what's up with her in that place, and yeah, there's a whole story behind her that we'll get to go through over the books.
Oh, good. Yeah, it was just really fun. Really impeccable writing. Kept me up forever until I had to finish it. So how are the other books? Are they all about 300 pages, or did they move up and down?
They get a little thicker, maybe 350 by the end of it. So they're not much longer, but they do get a little longer there by the end.
What other types of series have you done?
My other series is an epic fantasy military fiction, and that's more the really long books. So when I say 90,000 is short, I mean, I just came off writing a 270,000 word book for the finale of that series.
How many pages is that?
That one was so long, I had to shrink the font size to get it printed for the print copy, and it's still like 800 pages.
800, and it's military stuff?
It's epic fantasy, but it starts out kind of more military fantasy, and then it kind of pivots into epic fantasy as the story goes along and the series expands its scope.
Oh, that's
which is something
exciting.
I like to do. Yeah, I like to expand the scope a bit of a story as like the series goes and up the stakes get higher and stuff like that.
Well, I bet your fans love it when they get a long book. Like, yeah.
Yeah, there are people that definitely love those long books. Yeah, everyone who reads them loves them. So
I know, but the chapters they're not too long, but they weren't too short. So, you could talk yourself into a break, but it's more like, it's like perfect for winter when you're snowed in or rainy, because you're really going to keep ripping through it until you get to the last page.
Yeah, I don't like to do terribly long chapters, but also, I'm not sure. Ones like let you have like something in a chapter.
Well,
make it worth a read.
I seriously think I finished this in a day, but I was like, okay, wait, I can just take a break at this chapter and eat. Okay. And then I had to eat with the book because I had to see where it was going. It was really incredibly well done.
Thank you.
So what other things do you do for fun that influence the way you write?
I play Dungeons and Dragons. So there's definitely stuff like that out there. Like I don't try to do like overt Dungeons and Dragons stuff, but like in my epic fantasy, I have like lizard men that are very much like a Dungeons and Dragons like staple race, and because I like them, and it's and just sort of interacting with people, and I think sort of joking around. I try to put when my characters are together. Sometimes I'll just be like people, and just sort of have talk and make tell jokes or kind of riff on each other a bit. And I think that comes out of just playing a lot of D&D, where that's what you do, when you're just with a group of friends for hours, playing, like tabletop game before each other, and yeah, it's fun, and it's kind of like the essence of friendship. I think sitting around and playing Dungeons and Dragons
Really?
in a weird way. Yeah,
Well, I don't
it's
understand how that works. So can you explain that part?
it's okay. So Dungeons and Dragons, it's kind of there's one person there's kind of telling a story, and then you're all interacting with his story. So like the dungeon master, he's got a story he's telling, and then you get to make decisions that change how his story goes, because you're not like an NPC. You're a PC. You have agency, and
Mm.
so yeah. So you just go on adventures like you're in a fantasy book, and you have like magic and weapons, and you fight monsters and save the day, or you can fail, because that's the thing. It's an interactive thing, so you can like lose, get your character killed. I mean, it can be a lot of fun.
It sounds like
And,
it.
I've used to be a dungeon master, so I'd have to make up stuff on the fly. Like my PCs, your players never do what you expect them to. So
Mhm.
you'll give them like 3 options, and they'll pick option number 4, and then you're like, okay, and you have to like you have to adapt your story and keep up with them to keep the game fun and moving. Yeah. So it kind of teaches you how to be a flexible storyteller, and that's it's very useful for writing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it is great for writing. I can see how it influences yours because there's a lot of different twists and turns to it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I don't like the status quo should always be changed in a book. In a story, you don't want things to get stagnant. So that's kind of a philosophy I have. I always look for new ways to kind of change the setting, change the characters, um, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, stagnant isn't a word that would come into describing your book at all.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it just completely moves. But growing up, real quick, what was your favorite book of all time?
Uh, Shadow Rising by Robert Jordan.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thanks for coming in and sharing so much about what you do, how you crafted this exciting novel. It's completely outrageous. I enjoyed it
Thank you.
every minute.
I was glad to be here. It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions. And if you want a great writer who's going to take you on epic journeys, JMD Reid is the one to look into. We'll see you soon.